Hello.
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 Welcome to another episode of Cafeteria Christian. We're happy you're here with us today.
I'm Emmy.
Emmy, go. Just go.
I'm Emmy Kegler.
I'm Jesse Ross.
And I'm Natalia Turfa. Sorry. Listen.
I'm listening.
Am I unorganized to a level that is uncomfortable for me today? Yes. Yes.
Okay. That's the
energy I'm bringing. It's the energy I'm bringing.
The oneness has failed you. I understand. Okay.
So, everybody, we're happy you're here. This is a podcast for people who like Jesus. Not so sure about all of the other things.
Yep.
So there you have it. Everything else just a big old question mark. So
sometimes Jesus is also a big old question mark, but
so here's my question for the co-host crew is that with Emmy and Jesse both here, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna do fair or foul, or are we gonna do what's on your tray? And I don't know, and I'm very stressed out by this right here. I'm like,
I've never gotten to do fair or foul, and I assumed that with Jesse here, I was gonna get to do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I love it. I literally was like, "Ooh, what do we do today?" Okay.
Listen, what's on your tray is just a Nora thing. I have not established what's my thing yet. I'll come up with my own shtick.
Yeah, but you definitely keep it going.
Fun facts in Christian history. That's what we'll do.
Oh gosh! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
And you will enjoy it. Anyway, Jesse, what do you got for us today?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this all weekend. My fair or foul is fair or foul, I despise, and I mean utterly despise, spring water, specifically Ice Mountain water. Fair or foul?
Fair. Bottled water is from the devil.
Yeah.
I don't believe all bottled water is from the devil, but I think spring water, specifically Ice Mountain water, has this very distinct, random, suburban taste. And
it's because all they do is bottle tap water and call it spring water. It's not true. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. Oh so my gosh.
So that's fair. That's fair, right? Uh-oh.
Oh, everybody that was Emmy that had noises in the background.
That was me. My phone. I was legitimately looking at what happened in Christianity today. And apparently the website that I was on was like, you know what this needs is an autoplay video. I'm with Natalia. I don't like bottled water in general, so I will fare with you on this, Jesse. Because I just generally don't like bottled water as a species of water, and therefore, if there's a subset of bottled water that we're gonna hate on, I'm on board.
That is hilarious. See, I am for the purified, like regular drinking water. I drink drinking water. I have a CPAP machine. For those who don't know, I sleep with the sleep app, and so like the whole point of it, and I love Minneapolis tap water, for the record, but the whole point of not using tap water is so that the like minerals are taken out of it or whatever, so it's like clean and doesn't stain your machine. That water is delicious, but it tastes just like the tap water to me, right? But spring water has this it's like disgusting. My church bought some. Somebody's gonna listen to this. We had an event this weekend, and I was very specific. Like, hey, can you tell the person who's ordering the water to get drinking water or purified water, not Ice Mountain spring water? And they were like, yeah, no, I'm specific. And so somebody handed me a bottle. It was like a movie. I was like, oh yeah, man, I'm so thirsty. And it was like beautiful on Saturday, right? Somebody hands me a bottle of water and I grab it and I open it and start drinking it. And I literally spit it out. I was like, oh, what is this?
Oh my gosh. You are so bougie, Jesse. You're like, what kind of bottled water is this you're feeding me? I only drink Fiji mode. I only drink Fiji water, guys. Bottled at the source.
So in my perfect world, I just want to drink Minneapolis tap water everywhere I go.
I understand that.
You know, that also drives me bonkers that people in Minneapolis are like, the water is so gross here. You're like, no, it is some of the best city water in the world. Like I can go on this Natalia can climb up on a big old soapbox here. I'm like, there's no need to be drinking bottled water in Minneapolis. There's no need. People, look at Jesse slow drinking bottled water right now, just in front of my face.
Brand?
Look at him.
What is that?
Look at him. Look at him. Target
Sam's Club, even better.
They're just bottling that in the back of the room at a faucet in the bathroom, dude. They're just filling it up at any faucet. You're just paying for the plastic.
Paying for the plastic. They're destroying the environment.
Oh, okay. See, I told you my Enneagram 1 was not in a good place this morning, and look at what I did. Look at what you did to me, Jesse. You just put me in my most judgmental, critical. Woo! So fair or foul. Wow, that was
wow.
That was something. Okay. We do have a topic today.
We have a topic. There we
go. We had a listener not too long ago send us an email, which, do you know what? Any of you can do anytime. You can send us an email at cafeteriachristian@gmail.com if you have a question or something you want us to bring up on the podcast. And I just want to say, some people do it, and the questions are great. And Beth intentionally sent us this question via email because she did not want us to play her voice on a podcast, because she was like, I think my voice sounds weird when it's recorded. How do you guys do it? And I was like, I just don't listen.
No.
Just don't do it. Somebody once, I was like, does my accent come out when I'm recorded? And somebody's like, oh, no, Natalia, you sound like that all the time. I was like, wow.
Do you like my look of surprise because I'm a Midwesterner by birth? And so I'm like, no, you don't have an accent. I'm like, yes, we do.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh, yeah. Okay, then. Here's the email we got from Beth.
So read it to us.
All right, so she said she is a white liberal mom living in the South, attending an ELCA church. And she says the church is a lot like a lot of ELCA congregations today, white, aging, shrinking, which I think is a legit critique. So she wants to know, she's just wondering, like, her pastor's been asking her sort of for, like, what do you think the church should focus on, kind of getting the feedback of people in the congregation. And she just said, I see my own generation. Well, here's what she said. I see a new generation that is more diverse in every way than the ones before it, that has less interest in organized religion and more hunger towards justice. I see my own generation waiting in apathy towards Christianity after growing up going to churches that told them that the way they loved, who they were, or something as simple as the clothes they wore was wrong or less than because it wasn't the way, in quotes. So she said, I'm asking you, as the spiritual people I spend the most time with, which is amazing, if you were starting from scratch, what would your church do? What would it look like? What would it be? So, and the main sort of point of her question is, what is church for? And I think this is such an interesting question. I want us to ponder it together for a little bit. And I feel like we got a little into this with Christina from the DTR blog a few weeks ago when we asked her what she thought church was. And she said she felt like church, to her, church felt more like a 12-step group. Or a 12-step group felt the most like church. Maybe I'll say that the other way, which I know Nadia Boltz-Weber has said many times, and actually Glennon Doyle Melton has said that as well, just that that the church, that the 12-step groups feel the most like what she imagined church would feel like. So
Yeah.
Who wants to start?
So the funny
Jesse's like, no, not me.
Not me.
So yeah, both Nadia and Glennon have been through 12-step programs, so that parallel makes sense, and have found salvation, freedom, healing, release in those programs. And so the interesting thing for me is that I also found a lot of help in a 12-step program. So they go through AA, which is, straight up Alcoholics Anonymous. My program was Al-Anon, which is for family and friends of alcoholics. And the difficulty that I have with starting from, okay, this is far too much analysis. Anyway, I agree with them, and I also don't agree with them. And I think where I would want to start a church right now would be on the belief that some people are good. Because I feel like a good chunk of Christianity has presupposed that we are inherently sinful, and has based that on some particular interpretations of passages in the Bible. We did Genesis 1-3 at Queer Bible Study this last Sunday, and everybody just kind of stared at each other like, wait, a lot of the stuff that we were told was in here isn't in here. And I was like, yeah, there's no Satan. There's no like it doesn't say in the Hebrew text that there's a fall. It doesn't say like blah, 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 blah. There was a whole bunch of interesting conversation. It doesn't say like, and thus all of humanity was corrupt forever. And so I think I would like to start a church on the presupposition that it is possible to be good and to work from there. Which I know is like, like the moment, if our bishop listens to this, I'm going to get called into the office, Natalia. So that's fine.
There's no way she listens to it. Otherwise I would have been called in a long time ago.
That's true.
I love that. Have you read Daniel Schroyer's Original Blessing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, this idea that instead of that it's original sin, she calls it original blessing, and I think that's really interesting to flip the script a bit and say, what if we've been called good and not evil? Because if you really, what you're saying, Emmy, is if you start on the presupposition that you're just inherently evil because of the creation story, then your whole life is working to be good, right? Then all you're doing is working yourself to be better than the thing you've inherited from our creation story. What a different thing.
Like anything that happens to you is your fault. And anything that someone does to you is your fault. So like systems of abuse, systems of patriarchy, systems of racism, all of those are just sort of like, well, humanity's broken, and you probably brought it on yourself in some way. And so because we're all sinners, and somehow the person in less power ends up being the bigger sinner. And I'm not really sure where anybody got that math, because I sure as heck don't see it in the scripture. But this, like, what if we started from the presupposition that people are good and are worthy of decent treatment, and don't need to be sort of like spiritually abused into a position of total, not just humility, but like total brokenness, and then receive some ounce of grace. And that comes up hard against, the process with 12 steps, because the 12 steps are about admitting like that you're powerless over alcohol, and that your life is unmanageable, and that you need God. And I don't want to contradict that, which is why I'm not saying like all people are good, or like everyone is good, or everyone is good all the time. But rather that like people have the capacity for goodness. And therefore we don't only need to start from the place of like, you're absolutely wretched and you need to confess how wretched you are in order to get anything that's close to grace.
Very interesting and good points. Like not in a bad way. I'm sitting here like, dang, that was good.
I know we shouldn't have let Emmy go first, Jesse.
I know.
Oh,
like, anything
man.
I have to say now is like, no, that was good.
I guess I can talk more about like what that might play out as
that's what I was just about to ask you. Like, what does that actually look like?
Yeah.
In the the way that people know church, how does that get lived out?
So I think it would still, if you think about like church as a worship service, and in the context of Lutheran traditional worship, we always start with a public confession and forgiveness, and I think I would keep that. But one of the things that I've been trying to do in my own church's liturgy is admit to like there's things done to us also that separate us from the love of God, and I don't know that we normally talk about like the sin of other people and how that separates us from the love of God, and I think that would be an important confession of like, when you feel alone, when you feel separated from God, when you feel hurt, when you feel violated, that might not be like your personal spiritual failing. That might be that someone else has hurt you. So it would be a church that takes trauma seriously to some degree, and that doesn't start from this place of like, you have to be wretched and down on yourself. At the same time, it would also presume that everybody has worth. So there's actually almost more sort of emotional labor demanded of each participant than simply like, well, I'm a sinner and therefore I'm wretched, but Jesus covers my sins. Like, what if we were put in a position of like, you have the capacity to act better than you are. You are not just, bad. And therefore you need to work on your behavior and think about how you act and speak to other people, because that does matter. Because when you hurt other people, that breaks their relationship with God. So I think that it would be very like heavily community focused, and like a lot of boundaries and a lot of like self-reflection. And I think one of the reasons that that's not the direction that Christianity went is that that's not fun. Like, it's much easier to just do a like, yep, I'm a wretched sinner and I'm sorry for what I did last week, but Jesus's blood covers me and I'm all set to go. And I can keep doing whatever I want because Jesus's blood is just going to keep on covering it. And it's like, But I also recognize like not everybody has the capacity to do self-analysis and self-reflection for a myriad of reasons. So maybe that church structure wouldn't work because it does require like consciousness and self-reflection. There'd be a lot of feelings wheels in Sunday school, I think. We'd probably be doing a lot of like spiritual CBT. Like, what is the feeling that's driving this thought that's driving this action? Like, what are you actually trying to get out of the situation? And the 4-year-old would just be like, I hate you.
Ugh.
I think that's all I got, guys.
No, I think that's really beautiful. So CCers, what we're going to do is just like I've been trying to do. I was a little late on the last one, but just as I've been trying to do on the Facebook group, to put a discussion thread on these episodes. So I would love you guys to all weigh in on each of the dreams we have. I just think it'd be interesting to like think it through a little and play it out like Emmy's doing to wonder a little bit. I think, part of what we have really thought about as far as this community is that we're curious and open together. And so and neither Emmy nor me nor Jesse have the perfect church in mind. I think that's not what we're doing here, but to recognize the failings of the current systems that we have and to say, okay, what would I do differently if I could start, right? If I had, truly what Cafeteria Christian is to me is an incredible church community. I wish I had unlimited funds and we could just make this community,
if someone's won the lottery recently, please call us.
Yeah, we'd love you to pay us to do this full time. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
because I do think in some ways, to me, one of the pieces that I think my definition of church right now, as it is on this day that we are recording, because it changes all the time, is a place where you can wonder about God and community. Like, I think that's what I believe church is, right? And so asking questions about who God is and what God's about in the world, and then going and doing those things with God in the world. I think that is, to me, what church is. I think the reason why I'm so intrigued by Nadia and Glennon and Christina's ideas of the 12-step program being a foundation or a good basis for church, a good example for church to follow, is the lack of hierarchy. I think that structure, to me, as soon as the church has developed hierarchy, it just F's everything up. And I really believe I'm like so offended right now by the hierarchy of, it's not just the Lutherans, of any denomination. You know, I don't want to rip on, I'm going to get in trouble. See, we'll just, each of us will say something to get us in trouble today. We'll do it all together. I saw a picture of an installation of a bishop who I'm excited that got installed, and I think they're going to be great. But the picture was extra flashy, roby, like just the big scepter and what's the thing on the hat, mitre, right? Or whatever. Yeah, just like the big funky hat.
And you are, what's the hat?
I know. I'm just like I'm just like, wait, and the flowy robes, and all I can think is like how unrelatable that felt. All I could think of was like, it just feels so unrelatable. I don't know if that's the wrong word, but it just,
it's one of those interesting things where, like, if you grew up in it and you're familiar with it, it's, you know, there were certainly people celebrating it. But if you are new to it, it's like, so this is just Catholic light is what that looked like. It looks like the Pope, but just like with ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like queer people, queer people.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, I mean, yes, it looks like the Catholic Church, but with like slightly less fancy and more of a gender spectrum.
Yeah. So to me, that's been and I don't know, as to ask the question that Jesse, I know, is already thinking of, which is, how does this play out in, like, what does this look like in practice, right? I don't know. I don't know how you have a church structure without a leader. I think it would be interesting to me to wonder a bit. I think so to me, one of the reasons, Emmy has some feelings about Paul. We all have some feelings about the Apostle Paul. It's fine. I'm throwing you under the bus. She's like, hey, one of the things I think Paul got right, in the midst of getting many things wrong, I think one of the things.
Leaving.
She's like, peace out, Natalia. You're doing this alone.
That's fine. Go ahead.
One of the things I think Paul got right is this idea that the giftedness of the church is that some are meant to do this, and some are meant to do this, and some are meant to do this, and trying not to raise one above the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to say, just because you have a pastor does not mean they're more important than somebody who is a Sunday school teacher. And just because you have somebody who's a Sunday school teacher does not mean they're more important than the student. And just because you have a student doesn't mean they're more important. I mean, it's like the system that Paul talks about did not create it. It wasn't meant to have hierarchy ever. I don't think the structure was ever that there was a hierarchy, except that God is at the top and we are all somewhere else. Although I even feel like in my own seminary education, we were taught very clearly about the dance of the Trinity and nobody being more powerful than the other, and how there's always a space at the table that includes humanity, and so that we're put at the same table, at the same space as Creator, Creator, Son, Holy Spirit, however you want to say it. And I just think, as soon as you put someone in charge, I think power is too much for people. And I mean, I'm of course listening to The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill, like many people are right now, that podcast. And it makes me feel literally nauseous every week. And I don't know why I still listen to it, but it's because it is just a clear reminder of how corruptive power is in the church. And then when somebody is in a position of power and they lose focus on the people that have been entrusted to their care, then they are damaging. It's just like so damaging, which is why this trauma-informed theology is really important in the church too, to recognize, how do you protect people from hurting each other, and how do you let people realize when they're being hurt, right? Like, these are all important pieces, and that I just think hierarchy doesn't have a place in. And I don't know what that looks like in the church going forward. I don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I dream about a church that doesn't have a power structure.
I love that. One conversation that I was having last night, someone asked something about how do you talk to conservatives, and they weren't speaking about Amy just made a face.
Just don't. Just
right.
No,
Well, that
I'm
was kind of what somebody
kidding.
said, right? They were like, how do you talk to conservatives about the issues? Because clearly the folks who agree with you aren't the ones you need to win over. But also you get the most, flack and rebuttal, whatever, from conservatives. And so it was an interesting discussion because someone also said, you don't, right? They was just like, you don't talk to them, or you almost make that your life's work, not to convince someone who's a conservative to transfer over, but to just recognize that there's always, like, that's part of the powers and principalities that are going to be against us. And so it was interesting to hear that. I think about, I think what I said was, as we recognize what we're up against, we're always going to have to speak to those who are in positions, who are, and I can't remember how I worded it, positions, who have the power, who make the most money, because that's how, that hierarchy has really decided who gets to make the decisions, who gets to decide what's political. That's what it was. And I think that that's really where I have, to your point, to both of your points, like, to have a church that doesn't subscribe to the hierarchy because of position, because of salary, and because of power. It's like, hey, this person has been designated one of however many people that are going to lead because of how they live their life and what they have shown, how they've modeled. Here's how we need to continue to spread this word and make disciples and all this stuff. So it's funny because originally when the question came, I was like, what's your dream church? I was like, I can wear jeans, Timbs, and hoodies consistently and not have to get judged because I don't look like a church member, right? But that's the thing. Like, the persona or the model that we have put together doesn't just look like, what you have in appearance, but it has been, what do you look like? Oh, you don't look like you go to church. Oh, you don't look like you would be a follower of Jesus. You don't look like you would attend this place versus that place. You don't look like you would be able to preach or allowed to preach, like all of those things. And I'm just like, it really comes down to the hierarchy stuff. And I think I've almost made it my life's mission's work to just continue to break those stereotypes and those caste systems, shall I say, that put us in those positions where we are unable, whether it's a conservative or not, we're unable to recognize that something can exist outside of what we know. Just because you haven't seen it before doesn't mean that it can't be done. And I feel like that's really what God proved his entire existence and modeled through the Bible, but yet we have a hard time grasping that as humans.
Can a church exist in a capitalistic society?
I knew we were gonna go there.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like the people with the power in churches truly are the people with the money, which sucks. And I feel like Jesus would be like, what the hell, you guys? This is not what we talked about. I just feel like it's...
Yeah,
I think so.
I mean, it does, because that's how the New Testament church survives, right? Like, there's women that follow Jesus around in Luke 8 who support his ministry with their work. And so, which is interesting, considering that women, like, can't own property in first century ancient contexts. So, like, either they're somehow independently wealthy, or they're widowed, or like it's just cool. But I mean, that's kind of the thing, is you have to find sort of that sweet spot of people who have expendable wealth and recognize that that wealth is given to them for the benefit of others. And I think, I mean, like, the gospel rightly preached maybe convicts people of that, because it convicts people to self-reflect and change. But then you'd have to, you know, buy into the fact that you can trust other people with your money. And I think a good number of people don't believe that. Like, no, this is mine, and I want to, like, I want to decide how my tax dollars are being spent. I want to, you know, I want to have control over this. This is like when you look at the rise of the libertarian movement, it's like, I know better than other people. So you'd have to really be, I mean, in my dream church, that would be affected only by people's conviction that, like, not only are they capable of goodness, but so are other people.
Oh, you mean you want me to think someone else is good?
Right, it's a revolutionary concept, like, either to treat yourself as capable of goodness or other people as capable of goodness. Like, neither of those are particularly. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I do think this idea of gifts to the church have been, I mean, so maybe add to my list of no hierarchy is that the giving is no strings attached. And like, truly, like, what does that look like? Because I think there are lots of people who when they're unhappy with their church, they threaten to remove their gift. And then it essentially, it's such a messed up system, right? And so to say and then pastors or leaders of those churches become afraid of the loss of that money, because if they lose that money, they can no longer continue to do the work of the church. But is that church, like, it's just a hard, I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting here being like, oh, because it's right, because it's so hard.
Because if there's positions of power, and the positions of power are doing something abusive, you want people to be able to walk away, right? Like, that's, like, Natalia, you and I have discussed, like, what it means to be part of a system, the ELCA specifically, that, like, continues to allow people to oppress and marginalize LGBTQIA people. Like, we ordain them and will allow them to exist in some churches, but some of the churches in our denomination don't, and they are not compelled to by our polity. And so, like, our work and our money goes into a system that allows that to continue. And, like, what do we do with that? So, like, how do you protest against, I mean, that, like, how do you identify when a system is abusive and needs to be defunded versus when you just don't like the decisions that authority is making because they make you uncomfortable?
Oh, that's a word. Look at Jesse's face.
So I think churches in a capitalistic society can exist, should exist, because if the church is supposed to do the work of redeeming the lost, and we got so many lost folks inside the church and outside the church, then it should be able to use the system that was meant for terrible and turn it for good, right? I think about mutual aid, and how that's become really big in the last probably 3-4 years, even more so than ever before. I think about the power of tithing and offering and what people give. I think about the power of the 501c3 status that most churches have, that allows them tax exemption, but also allows them the opportunity to be classified and to get credits where most businesses are not able to. It allows people to donate to that entity that's designated as a church, but also they can redistribute funds and go places and send that money to places. I think there's so much power that's untapped, and yet we still have all those things that you all mentioned, right? And so I think that it has to exist in a capitalistic society, because if not us, then who, right? If the church doesn't do it, then I don't expect, clearly, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk aren't planning on changing healthcare and saving the world, right? I do think, though, that's almost it's a, I won't say a twisted way of looking at it, but I definitely think it's a futuristic way of thinking about the way that the scripture says, like, being in the world and not of the world. Like, I think that's a take that I've been more radicalized the last 5 years in really, like, what does scripture say about how the church is supposed to be responding to these things happening in the world. And I mean, that's my story. I'm sticking to
it. No, I think part of what you're saying is, like, you see the special designated, like, 503c status, right? Like that designation, or the nonprofit status. And right away you say that, and you see how it is used for good, and you see right away how it has been corrupted, right? Mm-hmm. You see these pastors with these gazillion-dollar homes with 22 bedrooms and 15 bathrooms, and you're like, that doesn't seem like a good use of the power you've been given through this thing, right? Emmy's just laughing over there. Thank you. That's maybe that's an understatement, but just to say, like, you can see so quickly how power and platform and hierarchy corrupts a thing that is not meant for, like, that is not meant for evil, right? But you can see how quickly it becomes something else. And I do think, I fully agree, Jesse, that the church has to stay in it and be different, right? To be a voice speaking out against the way it's used improperly or poorly, or used corruptly, or used to place themselves higher than someone else. I think that's, or to take advantage or abuse, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As Emmy said, then as we call that out, is it just making you uncomfortable, or is it, like, actually, I think that's such a great, Emmy. I'm gonna sit with that for a while. When I re-listen to this episode and hear you say that again, I feel like it's really gonna stick with me for a while. Just to wonder,
tickle in your ear.
Yeah, just to feel like, what is me being uncomfortable, and what is, like, a legit thing that needs to change within the church, despite my comfort. I don't know. Did we create it? So, okay, I think our church imagines we're all able to have the capacity for good, that we're not just horrible, evil sinners.
Of goodness, yeah, is what I'm saying. Capable of goodness.
Capable of goodness, and with no power structure or hierarchy, and what else? What else?
And you can wear your hoodie and your sneaks.
You can wear your Tims and your hoodie anytime you want to. You don't have to perform a type of Christianity. You just get to actually, when they say "come as you are," that's not fake. They actually mean "come as you are." Yeah, I would love a church, church of the Sunday morning hangover, where you just get to show up and you're like, listen, guys, last night was rough, but I'm here anyway, in my pajamas and sunglasses and a cup of coffee so strong.
Hey, I'll tell you something that I'm doing. I started it without sharing anything with anyone except my wife, and someone called it out last week. I don't think I have any sanctuary folks that listen to CC. Well, that I do. I know there are some people, but I have one. I love the fall only because I love wearing jeans and hoodies. That's the only part of the fall that I like.
That's real.
I don't even watch football. But I also, because my church has been, for the most part, a little more majority white than it was when I first got there, I have, for the last probably, I think since we've been meeting in person, however long that is, every Sunday, I'm purposely wearing a shirt or a hoodie that is pretty much super pro-black, right? And so, and I haven't said anything, but I just happen to be now the person that goes up and like brings up the podium for anybody who's speaking. And so people see me. So I'm like, I mean, if I'm going to do anything on Sunday, like let it be, I'm going to send these like subliminal messages that people understand. I promise you this is a short story, but like I have a shirt that says, no fluff. I have a shirt that says, my soulmate is black. There's a couple other shirts that are like super pro black, and I wore a support black colleges hoodie last Sunday, and so I know somebody's like thinking it, or I had the decolonizer shirt on last week too. That's really what it was. So I know people are thinking it, but they don't say anything, and you know sometimes white folks are like, oh, really? Okay, and so so finally somebody on Sunday came up to me and was like, yo, I really, he's like, you're a cool dude, but I really like that you don't really care. You're just super pro black. And they're like, and it's at church. And there's a lot of white people that go to our church. And I was like, I mean, it's the least I could do. So yes, I want a church where I can come as you are. I like the hangover. What did you call it? Hangover?
Sunday hangover?
Sunday hangover church. Oh no.
It was
no.
Yeah. I'm like, that's dope. Like you said, I just got here. It was a long night.
I'm over here as the Al-Anon going like, well, that is not my church, which perhaps is, I mean, like, that's also indicative for some things, right? Like we recognize that it's almost impossible to build a church for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The music's too loud. It's too long.
Jesse, I do that at the school our children attend, but I do that with queer friendly stuff. So I'll wear like I'll wear like my Minnesota Pride shirt, or I'll wear the brewery that I'm a member of but their rainbow pride shirt, or I'll wear my Queer Eye shirt that has all their names on it. And I'm just like, my husband's always just like, oh my God, he shakes his head, puts it down. I'm like, listen, they need to know we're here.
I love it.
Oh, anyway.
You gotta make it work.
Okay, here's what our dream church is. Beth, here's what we've come up with. Based on the premise that we all have the capacity for goodness. There's no power structure or hierarchy. We come as we are. We have the ability to call out injustice from within the system. How's that? That's our dream church, you guys. We just did it.
I love it.
Just did it. All right. Well, thanks everybody.
Good work.
We just solved the world's problems.
We just solved it all.
Podcast.
We solved all the problems. That is what we do here. Hey, you guys, we've had some new patrons lately, and we haven't said them in a while, and I just want to, can I just say them for a hot second? Some of our new patrons. So, for those of you who don't know, we are on patreon.com/cafeteriachristian. You can support our podcast, the work we do here. We also give a portion of our gifts to worthy organizations that we decide on. And we have had some new patrons lately, and we've been naming them on the pod as a part of our regular ending of the podcast, but we've kind of gone lax on that the last couple. So here we go. Today, we are going to thank and welcome. Thank you, as Nora would be singing, Natalie Merchant. Natalie Merchant in the background. Jesse, do you know who Natalie Merchant is? Oh, this is my favorite. No, it's just my new favorite segment is like, name a white lady. Does Jesse know who that is?
Like,
the answer is no. The answer is no. It's fine. Okay, so this morning we are, or whenever you're listening to this, we are thanking Maggie Heyer Erlinson.
Hey, thanks, Maggie.
Hey,
we're thanking Sarah Pullman.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hey, Pullman.
We're thanking Catherine Dennett.
Thanks, Catherine.
Dennett, appreciate you.
And last but not least, this morning we are thanking everybody's favorite Enneagram 7, Jenny Sung.
Yay! Thanks, Jenny.
All right, so thanks you people for jumping on board and supporting this podcast. If you still want to do that, you can go do it. We would really appreciate it. If you're not in a place where you can do that and you just want to listen, podcasts are free. Feel free to just listen. That is fine. That is fine. We are so happy you are here. You can engage with all of us in different ways on the Facebook group, on Instagram. You can find all of us separately on Instagram. You can follow Cafeteria Christian on Instagram. Nora pops on there to post TikTok videos that she finds really funny. So anytime you see those, know that they're definitely not from me. They're definitely from Nora. So there you go. She saves up her favorites and then posts them in a big chunk every once in a while. So follow us on Instagram. That's fun. And then Emmy and I are doing Sunday sermons. Again, mine was not so many, but that's fine. It's fine. This past Sunday, every Sunday morning at 8:30, loosely 8:30 on Instagram Live. You can join us there and participate in that way. If this is kind of church for you, we're giving you another option to have it be a little extra churchy. And if you don't want to do it, also fine. What am I forgetting, you guys? Anything? Email us or a question, or you can call in with a question, either of those things. If you want to be as awesome as Beth, and email us a great question to make us think. You do that. And yes, we'll just call it good. So,
yep.
With life, with faith, do what we do here.
Take what you like.
Leave the rest.
Yes, yay, we did it. Oh my gosh, that was seamless.
Perfect.
All right, bye everybody. Thanks. Bye.